So uh, I guess it's important to note that my father was um, a big influence on my life, and he transitioned at 13. Um, I went on through school, high school, everything. I really don't know what my existence was, but I know that I was very rebellious and angry during that time. I now know that I was grieving and not really recognizing it. But skip forward to entering Tougaloo at 16, 17 years old and still having a void there from missing my father and being a daddy's girl and just not understanding existence at all. And I met this guy who was not really my type. I wasn't really that interested in him, but I was wilding. When I say wilding, I mean wilding. So it just made sense. He was just another number at that point. But anyway, I immediately started noticing that he was controlling. I had to stop talking to all my guy friends, and all my life I've had a lot of guy friends. So that was a little weird for me, but I was actually kind of happy to do it because that meant that he loved me some kind of way in my poor little 16, 17-year-old heart. Um, and then he started walking me to every class, and I was like, no, I've never had anybody do this. I had talked to a couple of people at the school. They didn't do any of that. He was making me his girlfriend publicly, which meant something. A person like me coming from having an issue with my weight and having a lack of self-esteem and not being treated real well by guys anyway up until that point, he stood out as someone who was paying attention to me. So that had to mean that he loved me. And that's really what I thought I was in need of. And I remember the very first time that he put his hands on me, he had a game or a scrimmage or something at the school. And I had now been ordered to come to every time he was in the gym, I had to come in there and just sit there, just be there. And so I went in, and one of the guys who was a friend of mine that I was also told, like I told these guys verbally, I can't talk to you no more. He won't let me talk to y'all. And all of them thought it was crazy, but they didn't know him very well, so they didn't really say anything about it. But one of those guys was in the gym at the time, and I couldn't sit with him, which was weird. So he just started calling my name, and I was scared. I was like, what am I going to do? Because he can't keep calling my name, and I can't go over there. So I just got up and left out the gym. And I thought, well, he's playing, so he didn't hear it. He's probably not going to hear it. I'm thinking I'm going to have to explain why I wasn't in the gym. That's where all my focus was. So I really wasn't prepared for him to run up behind me and grab me and have a problem. Like, did you leave the game for this? I don't even understand what's happening. So he said, what are you doing? What did I tell you? And I was like, feeling a little like my old self. And I said, I can't control who's talking to me. And he hit me dead in the face with his fist, and I hit the ground. And I remember thinking at that moment, he hit me. And this was my first real relationship, so I didn't really know how to place that. I didn't know what that meant for me as a human, as a woman, any of that. So his immediate reaction was to pull me up off the ground, and he started crying and apologizing. And I thought, oh, he's sorry. He's never going to do it again. That was the first time. We were together 11 years, and it was abusive the entire time. And it just got worse. They all go, they get really, really hard to manage time-wise, but I can tell you that I was pregnant with our child, and he was cheating. Listen, there's no type of abuse that this guy didn't do to me. He did everything. He was a cheater. He verbally abused me. He mentally abused me, emotionally, physically, everything you could possibly think of. And I remember once when I was pregnant, I was picking him up from work, and he called me and said, I don't need you to pick me up. And in my head, I'm going, I know good and well this man ain't got no ride. So how he don't need me to pick him up? So, of course, I went anyway. And he got into the car with another woman and got in the driver's side, driving her car. And so I did like all the foolish Dukes of Hazzard stuff, driving, trying to run them down off the road, like pregnancy hormones, and angry woman just kicked in. And he actually hit me. When I finally got to his house, I drove, I went straight to his house. And when I got there, he actually hit me then. And I was thinking, golly, there's nothing he won't do. He'll hit me while I'm pregnant. I remember thinking he won't hit me in the face again. He promised he won't hit me in the face. Well, he hit me in the face. And then he called my family and told my brother, y'all need to come get her. I don't want her here no more. And my brother came and got me. And I was actually so ashamed that my family had to be pulled into it. And it was just really, really painful. And his roommate was there and did nothing. I was screaming for his roommate to come and help me, and he did not come. He did not do anything. And so there are several incidents that ring out that may have been worse than others, but it's difficult. It was 20 years ago, so it's a little difficult for me to put like first, second. I'll never forget the first time. I can't even mention what the last time was. So it's really hard after the first time to put. There was a lot of times. I tell people all the time that I don't know when I would have left him. I did not have the self-pride. I was so broken that I don't know that I really believe that nobody else wanted me, that I didn't have anything of value, that I was fat, that I was unattractive. I mean, he really made me believe all of that. So I didn't think I could make it in this world without him. And the only reason why we left is because he found somebody else he wanted to be with, and he sent me home. By this time, we had moved to Atlanta, and he basically told me, you need to go back home because I can't take care of you and the baby. And I came back home. And that was the best thing that ever could have happened to my life. I really do believe that God said, this fool is never going to leave this man, so I'm going to have to make her leave. And the only thing that made me leave was him saying he didn't want me anymore. Otherwise, I don't know when I would have left. I'd like to think that I would have left at some point, but my world was so surrounded in himness. Like he moved me away from my family. I had one friend, and he hated her. So I didn't have any outlets. It was everything in my life was him, everything. So I don't know when I would have had exposure to knowing that this was not normal, regular life. I don't know when that would have happened. I'm hopeful I'd like to think that would have happened at some point, but I was nowhere near that at the end. So I don't know. I know what it feels like to be in that position. It's really delicate for women. And really what they need to know is that they are safe. That's what most women need. And if they getting it from the person who's abusing them, it's really hard to show them that anything else is important. So what I do is make myself available. I tell my story so that people can feel comfortable talking to me. And understand that there won't be any judgment, because most people are afraid of being judged. They're ashamed because they feel like the world will not understand how someone like you can let somebody hit on. Like I let somebody hit on me. I didn't let them hit on me, So it's just about presenting the aura of welcome and embracing the person, because it's really hard. It's really hard to not think that this is your fault. That's a hard thing. It's really hard. I remember thinking over and over again after every episode, I did it again. I made him hit me. True, I was young, and some of these people are a little older, but trauma starts at the age that it starts. And if you don't heal from that age, it's just going to carry on. So I try to make women feel comfortable. The work that I do in Thick and Proud Sisters and in the community kind of just helps people to heal from where they are. It's not about him. It's not about him and you. I try to teach the women that it's about empowering yourself so that one day you'll wake up and think, nah, this ain't the life I want. It's not about downing the abuser or making him look bad or trying to make you leave him. Because even if you make a person who has been abused leave, if they don't have a healing in their heart, they're going to go back. They're going to go back because the brainwashing thing is like, I don't even know a word for it. It's really hard to break. And it's an individual thing. What works for one woman may not work for the next woman. So let me just say that writing this article that we just put in the Advocate, I've been doing this work for, I don't know, 10, 15 years now. But for some reason, this column, it reignited some things. So I know that there's more work that I need to do. I was triggered by some of it. Maybe finally putting it together on paper about my dad and how he tied into it, and it's kind of grieving him all over again. So I'm a little emotional, I said that to say. So because it is an individual situation and people handle and manage it individually, it's difficult for me to say what that woman needs to look for. But I can tell you what I experienced. What I experienced was I was pulled away from all of my friends and family. Everything that made me feel safe and secure was stolen away so that the only place that I could find safety and security was in him. That's one thing. So if you find yourself to the point to where you can't go nowhere, be nowhere, do nothing without him, that might be a red flag. I was also, initially, there were jabs thrown. They identified your weaknesses and vulnerable spaces, and they used that to give power to their own selves. So this particular guy knew that I had issues with my weight, that I didn't feel attractive, that I didn't graduate from school, and that was a problem for me. He was the darn reason I didn't graduate from school. But that was a problem for me because I come from educators, so I had that issue. So every time he wanted to hurt me, he mentioned that I wasn't smart, that people didn't want to hear me talk. People didn't understand what I was saying, that I was fat. Look at your back. You got back fat. You know, all these kind of things. So if he's trying to mentally break you down and you have a difficult time feeling empowered around this person, there's a good sign that he's attacking you emotionally and mentally. He's stealing your selfness so that he can make you into what he wants you to be so that he can control it. Or she. I mean, women out there doing it too. So those are the two things I know for sure that had I known what I know now, those would have been some red flags for me. And if you feel like I can't tell nobody, it's probably something you need to tell somebody. And that's a lot of the issue. And whether it's embarrassment or shame, either one or both, then if you're feeling convicted, if you're feeling like this is not right, it's probably not right. No matter if the person that you told thinks it's okay or not, if your soul is saying this is hurting me, then it's hurting. Well, I think that there's going to have to be some commitment on our behalf as a community to reconciling that whole idea of what goes on in my house stays in my house, because people are dying in them houses because they ain't telling nobody, right? So what I found helpful for me is the sisterhood that we've been able to build with Thick and Proud Sisters. So, and if you notice, there is an atmosphere of sisterhood in our community right now. And if it's legitimate and authentic, then that will help women, specifically Black women, to at least have someone that they can bounce stuff off of without feeling judged. Because a lot of the issue that I had just simply came from, in all other ways, people thought I was strong and powerful. So I was opinionated. I was involved in things. People talked to me. How am I going to tell these people that when I leave y'all and I go in this house, I am a shell of the person that you think I am? Like, that was very difficult. When I finally I wrote an article some years back. My sisters read the article, and the very first thing one of them said was, "I can't believe you let somebody hit on you." That's the very reason why I didn't tell you. You condemned me for being a victim. So we have to change our mentality around that. We have to change that in order to be of some significant assistance to women who are going through this. We have to change that mentality. And there's a lot of changing that has to happen, because there are still women who believe men have the right to keep their woman in check. So there's a whole lot of changing of the minds that we need to do. But I feel the atmosphere changing around that idea anyway. Like the young sisters over there that are young, growing up and realizing this. And if we're telling our stories and they understanding how it affected us. So most of it would be, let's tell the truth. Let's tell these young girls the truth so that they can recognize this when this happens. These questions that you're asking me, we need to be telling these girls these stories, this truth. If we start operating in truth, then we can put shame to rest. We can stop it before it happens. And even some of these guys out here who don't know how to manage their anger and don't know what a real relationship should look like. Maybe they don't have one to pattern themselves after. If we're telling the truth about this, then they can get the message that, okay, I can do this, but I can't do that. I can't talk to her like that. I can't handle her like that. So most of that is going to just be honest, tell the truth, and be open and be loud about telling the truth. I don't know what else we can do. Because we can hug and cry and, sister, I'm here all day long. But this sister needs to know, what did you do? How did you fix it? This story, this conversation we have right now, we need to have more of these conversations. We need to empower the women who have had their power stolen. We don't need to wait on her to try to figure out how to get that power back. We need to replace that power for her. So community and sisterhood is really important. People like me who have been there, who can recognize, oh, I see, this sister looks like me 10 years ago. Then I need to be able to feel comfortable enough going to her and saying, sis, I'm here if you need me. Let me tell you this story. This is what happened to me. Randomly. She didn't ask me for that. But I can feel that she needs to hear it. And I'm not ashamed of my story. I'm not scared to tell it. I'm not scared of what she gonna think about me afterwards, because it's not hers to tell. So if I lend that to her, then maybe she can take it with her and find some encouragement in it. So those of us who have grown past it, or who are at least beginning the healing process, then it becomes our job to help other people heal. If we take that mentality, then I think we'll get somewhere. I appreciate this. I really appreciate it. I really needed to, for myself, have this conversation. So I really appreciate the opportunity. I don't really know what's going on in my healing journey right now, but I know something's happening. And so this is a part of me restoring. So I really appreciate you doing this interview.